Hey guys, and welcome back to a new What If Here. Today we are doing What If Female Naruto was the reincarnation of Kaguya, Part 1. I just want to thank you guys for getting me to pretty much nearly like where roughly, or at least at the time of recording, there's around 51 more subscribers needed to reach 1,000. And Social Blade believes that we'll be at 1,000 by the pretty much start of next month, the 1st of next month, but I feel like we'll get there before that. But obviously, it's you guys who decide to subscribe or not, so up to you guys. Anyway, let's get into this. So this What If would start 1,000 years ago, the time of the Sage of Six Paths, as he just successfully sealed away his mother. Though before that had happened, Kaguya had managed to reincarnate herself, though only the good part of her, the last remaining good part of her, which her husband and her children loved, before she came corrupt. And she would choose every 100 years to reincarnate, and only females of an island nation which was somewhat named Uzugakure. Those people could live up to like 220 years old. Some were 220 years old, and so she had chosen that island because when she'd somewhat roamed around the planet beforehand, she'd seen the people of Uzugakure were more family oriented, meaning like they always acted like a massive family. Sure, there may be cousins, uncles, aunts, and whatever, but they all are really just one giant family. It's like, the person down the road, you may not know him on the island, but like almost everyone would be like your mother or father, be that male or female. So and of course, as I just said, she would choose to reincarnate every 100 years or so. And obviously some time would go past as Hagoromo would then reach his dying breaths, as he would, or at least around, say, half a year before he would reach his dying breath, he would what would it be? He would split the chakra of the he'd split the chakra of the 10 tails into 9 separate beings called detailed beasts, because the one detailed beast with the least amount of chakra had one single tail, with the most chakra of the 10 tails being a being of a giant fox with 9 tails. And you'd tell them that one day a female child shall be born that will pretty much have the ability to just save the world, if she chooses in its dying hour to save the world or destroy it, wipe it from existence. The 9-tailed beasts would then decide that, and would tell their father that they would try and raise this female child, the best they could when that time arises, though depending on the circumstances of whatever happens in the future. And then, of course, Indra and Asura would do their thing. Their obviously battles through century, as they would choose to, obviously they would choose to reincarnate, though Indra and Ashura would, unlike their grandmother, who'd chosen to pretty much only be able to reincarnate into girls, Indra and Ashura would somewhat forget that ability, and well, not ability, but just straight up forget to just add that as a somewhat limiting factor as such throughout at least maybe a good, say, 1 or 2, maybe even 3 reincarnation cycles. They'd been thrown into both male and female bodies, well, reincarnated as both a boy and a girl, because they just forgot to add that. And as such, nothing really went down through like that reincarnation cycle would continue up until 1,000 years later, where a person could be, I'd say, beautiful night, having calm, though the wind carries screams from afar, from a cave if you shall follow the sounds of the screaming. A cave surrounded by people with masks. If you go past them, you'll see a girl on what looks like an altar almost, or a stone or something, and it seems like she'd be giving birth, and she'd give birth, and I'm gonna at least skip somewhat of this part, so up until nearing the very end of the Nine Tails attack. So pretty much Kuma is about to stab the baby, where the story will start again. And as Kuma's nail comes closer and closer, it would then stop barely a millimeter away from Minato's back, as he and Kushina jumped in front of the beautiful baby girl, and Kuma would just be staring at the child as Minato would somewhat look down, expecting to just see a giant, claw fingernail right through him, but nothing. Could pinch himself and he'd realise he's not daydreaming, he's not dead, he's alive. Who then somewhat he wouldn't exactly turn fully around, but he'd turn around enough to spot that is barely even a millimeter away from his back, and you could see that the fox almost seems frozen, though then Kushina would let out almost screams of pain, and as Minato would somewhat not sure what to do. Does he take Kushina? Does he teleport Kushina to the hospital? But by then maybe it was just a ploy by the fox, and he ends up killing that child. As he just let out, so he would drop a kunai, a marked kunai with the flying thunder god marking, or his marking for the jutsu, as he would then teleport to the hospital with Kushina, with him holding Kushina as the doctors would immediately run up to them. Minato would say, "Take her, she's in pain." I don't know why. It's like, Hokage-san, what's going on? I'll tell you later. They would just somewhat nod, though they're somewhat confused. If Kushina's here, then how in heck is she alive? They all believe that, having the 9 tails or having a tailed beast extracted would kill you, but it would, as almost all Jinchuriki always use some like a bit of the Toad Beast's chakra. But obviously Kushina and the seal that she had pretty much just all but like, no, I'm not using none of your godforsaken chakra, 9 times fox, and well, yeah, having it ripped out of her pretty much meant that hers and the fox's chakra were never exactly linked, and as such, her chakra network and anything tied to that, say, obviously like her life, wouldn't fade. She just randomly now just got in a lot of pain for what Minato just thinks is just randomness. Anyway, he would then teleport immediately back, and the nine-tailed fox, or at least fingernail was now was now back on the ground. He'd immediately look over and run over to his daughter, his and Kushina's daughter Ruby, which they decided to call her Ruby Uzumaki. She had beautiful ruby coloured hair, which is somewhat why. Though he would look at the fox and would just be wondering what the heck is it playing at, as then the fox would speak. She's the one. Minto would be confused. What do you mean she's the one? She's the one what? What do you mean? She's the one. She's the child of prophecy. Minto would be shocked and would blink. It's like, you know, how do you know the child of prophecy? That I've known for centuries, human. I've been alive for a good 1,000 years or so. My father, the Sage Six Paths, the person who created all 9-tailed beasts, from a monster called the 10 Tails, a ruthless killing machine who was just one thought was to kill. And he had prophesized, he and a friend of his had prophesized that far into the future there would be a girl with the power to save or destroy the world. Minto would somewhat gulp. He'd heard of, obviously, child prophecy. Jiraiya had first thought it was Minto, or possibly, heck, even Kushina. Though he had then later thought it was possibly Kushina due to the fact the Toad had updated him and said it was a female, not male, it was a female Jinchuriki. And while he, or at least only Ryo at that moment only knew of one female Jinchuriki being Kushina, and thought, well, it's either her, but like, could it be, or like, was there something going to happen and like another female Jinchuriki would be created, not born but created. Minato would somewhat be surprised, and as he'd go, wait, why would the Sage Six Paths create 9? Why? Minato would somewhat just be confused. Fox would just look down and go, she's the child of prophecy. The prophecy, my father, Hagurama Otsutsuki, or as you humans know him as the Sage of Six Paths. The person that started the ninja, the age of ninja. And I would go right and go, then what do I do to, because I'm gonna have to seal, I'm gonna have to seal you away. Fox would just nod and would say, I know, but still all of me inside of your child. You may have doubts that she can hold me, but trust me, she can. She has as much chakra. She has as much chakra as my little brother. You may know him as Shikaku, the one-tailed raccoon. Minto would go, why does she's got that much chakra, but she's only, I know, a newborn child. She's a special one at that, and that is why I believe she's the child of prophecy. And I will, for the best that I can, point her in the direction that will hopefully save the world. This world, it's nice and peaceful, but there are people far beyond anyone's imagination and strength that I've only been told of from stories, and yeah, I would believe she may be the only one that can save this world. And I would nod and would go, well then, would you be happy if when she turns 5, you'll be able to speak to her when she turns 5? Fox would just nod and would go, that is fine. Though I'm guessing the seal will slowly weaken. Minto would go, well, not this exactly, Sil. Yes, it will, part of it will weaken. As the Fox would go, part of it? What do you mean? Don't you mean the whole thing? So he'd shake his head, no. This Sil is somewhat unique. It's completely different compared to any other Sil created to hold, to hold them back, the might of a tailed beast. This is specifically meant for anyone who's even not a Uzumaki. Just anyone could hold you back. This chakra, it's somewhat unique, as it will obviously weaken, but it will more so, the part that holds you back will forever never weaken. You will forever be sealed inside of her. But the seal, the seal holding your chakra back will slowly fade, slowly get weaker and weaker, so she would get access to more and more of your chakra. The more she trains, well, not more she trains, but yeah, the more she uses it, the more the seal would weaken. The Fox would just nod and would say, that's a very good seal. And well, yeah, and that seal would be perfect, because it would allow her to somewhat get used to using, say, like a single tail's worth of chakra, and like mastering a 10 before she could progress to the next one. She couldn't just go from 1 to jump to 4 into somewhat chuckle nervous and go, well, that's if she doesn't lose control. If she does, then it will somewhat rapidly kind of deteriorate, though I will put in a place that if it does, I will come and repair the seal. She would just nod and mean that I would go through the hand signs for the Reaper Death seal. The Reaper would then form his means I would then run through, and I would buy his farmland and run through another set of hand signs, and as he would slam it on the ground and say, "Summoning Jutsu," as a somewhat odd-looking frog would appear. The frog would just blink and would go, "Minato, why have you called me?" As he would then feel another person, so would look over and would just look up and gulp and like, "You know I'm not a fighting type." Minato would somewhat chuckle and go, "I know, that's not why. Can you open up?" You go, "Well, yeah, what are you, like, going to actually make a possible contract?" "Well, kind of, it's more so a contract for a key." "The key to what?" "This seal I'm about to place on my daughter." Go wide-eye as Minato would then direct the Shinigami to, well, pretty much, well, its hand would go through Minato's body as Minato could feel the cold death almost emanating from the hand as it would ram into the fox. Well, it would stop just before it hit the fox, though then its hand would grow to a massive size, bigger than the fox, and then somewhat like almost just like almost cross the fox, as then its hand, it would then roll, twist its hand and open it, as it would just have a ball of pure chakra, as it would then turn its hand over and then slam it. Well, it would then move its hand over to the child, to the baby, and then slam it into her, as Minato would, whereas then the seal would also appear, as Minato would then somewhat, well, knowing the seal as he was the one that created it, would weaken it, so would weaken it enough so that by the time she is on her 5th birthday, it will weaken. It will be weakened enough that she will be able to communicate with the fox for the first time. You just hope that Kushina doesn't put a kind of negative image, like paint the fox in a complete, like, mean, mindless creature. Though he guess she possibly might, but hopefully talking with it will kind of undo any of that. But oh well. Though he'd then look at the frog, as the frog would open up as Minato then, well, the Shinigami would then have its hand shrunken back to normal and would push its hand onto the paper before it would glow, though they would all somewhat shut their eyes as the bright light was, well, very, very bright. And once the light would die down, they'd open it and see the key, as it will go contract done, as it would kind of roll up as it would go. "I'm guessing you're about to die, so where should I go?" "So go to Mount Miyaboku and stay there." The smartest choice may have been to, have you go to Jiraiya, but I believe that when the time comes for her to have the key, he won't give it up without a fight or over his own dead body. So it's better if you go. It's better if you go and stay in Mount Miyaboku. Jiraiya, though, may beg, or even, say that he's the one who's meant to protect the key, but no. The Toad summoning clan as a whole is meant to protect the key, not Jiraiya. Got it? Hi, Minato. As he would look over at the sleeping child, as he'd say, "Well, I guess And this is the first and last time you'll ever see your daughter again. And so just somewhat nod him to have a tear come out his eye as he'd go, well, so long, as he'd cough up blood as he then, well, slowly start to see black as the toad would reverse summon itself as Hiruzen would run up and he'd go, what's going on? And Minto would somewhat tell him, though, and although his final words would be protect she's my love and joy, she is Ruby Uzumaki, as he would then die. He had told Hiruzen that Kushina should very much be at the hospital, though, of course, well, he would then, well, he would pick up Ruby and Sunshine to the hospital, and then the staff would run up to him and go, Lord Third. Hiruzen would go, what is it? Kushina, she's escaped, she's left. He'd go, wide-eyed, what do you mean she left? How could she leave? Minato said that he'd brought her here when she was in extreme pain. Hi, Hokage-sama. Well, after 10 minutes would pass, though they would continue talking, but yeah, Kushina had just disappeared. She had escaped and, well, abandoned Ruby. Of course, the fox would wake up seconds after being sealed inside the fur and would pick up the tail end of what, she's gone, and would realise that she's gone means Kushina has left her alone. Has left her child alone, and Kuma would be stunned, would be surprised, would be confused, Uzumaki's always, no matter what, family comes first over anything. If there's a war going on, you protect your family over, going to war type deal. Though unless your clan was the one that, what people were fight against, and yeah, you'd be on the front lines wiping out them. But anyway, and since that day, 3 years would go by as we would see a young child kind of curled up, all bony and bony, and sadly this would be Ruby. She'd been kicked out of the orphanage just a month ago, and she'd been somewhat kind of constantly on the run to protect herself, to kind of just stay alive, as people would always try and find her and hurt her, and she didn't know why. Actually, had always gotten away due to just being a lot more agile, being smaller. She could run fast, and as such she'd always get away, but that had somewhat played in some advantage, but a huge disadvantage. She hadn't eaten in a month, she hadn't drunken anything in a month. Heck, the only reason why she's alive is because of the Nine-Tails Fox. She would have at least died 10 times by now if it wasn't for the fox. Her organs had long since had pretty much given up, but the fox had somewhat made patchwork. At the start, Kuma had managed to heal some, say, damage, but now, with Ruby only being pretty much skin and bones, there was only really the muscle she had was the bare minimum to allow her to somewhat walk and move her arms and keep her head upwards. And yeah, Kuma could only really patch up stuff to get them and keep them just alive and running and functioning. And yeah, though, yeah, heck, she could pretty much now, like, couldn't really even defend herself. And, well, then a person would find her and would walk up, though this person, heck, almost every part of her had been in some type of damage. Her skin wasn't really healing. Like, well, yeah, her internal, well, at least a majority of her organs were somewhat damaged and patched up. The only one that hadn't received any type of damage at all was her reproductive system, which was kind of good, because it's one of, well, 3 things that Kuma couldn't do. Couldn't, well, regenerate. Well, heal. Which was, well, the reproductive system of any male or female. Kuma couldn't heal it. She could regenerate it, but not heal it. Any, obviously, like, limbs or arms, legs, you'd have to have it regenerated, not healed. Yeah. Though that would be incredibly painful. And lastly was the eyes. Kuma couldn't heal the eyes, so if you was going blind, you'd be better off to take the eye out, and well, it'd be incredibly painful, but Kuma could regrow the eye. Or, well, somewhat. It'd be the same colour as the eye, but it'd probably be somewhat feline, so it'd be slit-like. So, yeah. Anyway, though this person would somewhat kneel down in front of her and would go and would somewhat hold back any anger or tears and would go, "Dude, I finally found you." And she'd look up and go, Who are you?" As the person would almost would hold back someone and go, you don't remember me? I used to come and see you at least once a month." And she'd shake her head as, well, it seemed like that she'd somewhat suffered some, or at least, like, you know, like, due to just almost like organs just quitting, and Kuma very quickly patching them up and getting them back working, had done some brain damage. Though Kuma hoped once she got food and Kuma could start healing, Kuma would focus on the main organs first, and would then heal the brain, as that could take the longest depending on how badly damaged it was. Though Kuma had hoped it was somewhat just like, maybe just say a bit of like just maybe she was just in pure survival instincts. Though if her memory was just toast, Kuma, of course, being awake 24/7 allowed and never forgetting, Kuma could just do a somewhat memory dump and like into her mind and somewhat restore her, or they would restore Naruto to her somewhat previous self. Though she would always feel like the memories weren't exactly hers. Well, it was hers, but from the mind of a 9-tailed fox, so that's why we didn't feel like hers. So, yeah. Though the person would somewhat go, well, I am who's in Sarutobi, the people in this village, in this place, know me as the third Hokage. She would just somewhat nod and she would go, do you know your name? She'd shake her head, and he'd somewhat just clench his fist as he would go, your name is Ruby Uzumaki. She'd just nod and go, Ruby, that's my name? Uzumaki just nod, yes. Yeah, I used to come and visit you at least once a month. And she'd go, I'm sorry, old man, but I don't know you at all. I don't remember you. Uzumaki just nod and go, well, how about I get you some food and a place you can call your my home? She'd then look at him and go, please don't send me back there. Uzumaki ask, send you back where? The orphanage. Uzumaki would somewhat blink and would go, whoa, that's where you live. Please, I'm begging you, don't send me back there. And Uzumaki would somewhat clench his fist again and would somewhat growl as he would just nod and go, well, I guess you can stay for me for the night. Though firstly, let's get you some food. So you just nod as Uzumaki somewhat would pick her up. She was incredibly fragile. Though Uzumaki knew the only reason why she was surviving wasn't because she was an Uzumaki, but was because she was the Jinchoke of the nine-tailed fox. He could feel the nine-tails' chakra within her, and he knew that the only reason why she was alive still was because of the nine-tailed fox was keeping her alive. Yeah, he would then send him towards the only place, or at least he figured, which would be open at this time, which was Ichirakuran, which was actually somewhat about to close down. Well, was in the process of closing down, as Uzumaki would arrive and would walk in and go, I guess bad timing, as the teacher would turn around and go, Hokage-sama, sit down, I can get everything ready if it's for you. As Uzumaki would go, no, it's okay. I guess I'll just have to look somewhere else for that would willing to feed her. And he'd go, her, as Uzumaki somewhat point his head down to the child in his arms, as Tutsu would go wide-eyed. He'd seen her around. Heck, he knew whose child it was. It was Kushina's child, who Kushina had abandoned. And Tutsu had somewhat gone, no, we will be open. We are open, Hokage. Sit, and we will sit down. I'll prepare food right now. Uzumaki would just nod and would sit down, as she'd said pretty much like an order, like, you're not leaving without her having food. Yeah, pretty much almost threatening Uzumaki. Pretty much like if he'd walked outside the door, he would pretty much burst behind them with somewhat in all what he could do, grab the child and would feed her. Yeah. Uzumaki, though somewhat, would set her down. She had at least somehow enough strength to even do that. Heck, Uzumaki would think, heck, she must be either in a lot of pain, or that's even if she can feel pain at the moment. And, 5 minutes later, Chuchi would come back with the first bowl of ramen, and Ruby would somewhat blink and would go, what's this? Hiruzen would go, this Ruby is called ramen. Ramen? Yes, it is. The ramen, especially the ramen from this place, has to be the best in Konoha. No, the best in all of the elemental nations. She'd just go, really? You'd nod yes. Dig in. And Hiruzen would somewhat go, wait, that was stupid, and would get some chopsticks and help and somewhat feed her. As what she could really do was kind of chew and swallow, or just barely chew and swallow. Though once she was eaten and once her stomach, Kuma somewhat, now that Ruby was eating, Kuma could now start truly. Now she had nutrients, she could immediately throw that nutrients into healing her. Of course, some would obviously almost immediately go into getting her energy up, which would also help with her natural healing, which was also high but had fallen because of the lack of nutrients and energy. And so, and after somewhat eating 10 bowls, she was still at least looking scrawny, though her skin went from ghostly white to a more, or at least from what Hiruzen could remember from what she looked like shy a month ago. Her skin would look like, it would look 100 times better than that. It would, look a nice, more beautiful, creamy white colour. And, she'd go up and she'd somewhat look at him as Chuchi obviously went back and was still kicking up, and she'd go, I remember you used to come and see me once a month, wasn't it? Gigi, would go wide-eyed and would have a tear come down his eye as he'd hug her. She'd go, ow. As he'd go, oops, I'm so sorry. As Kun would breathe out a sigh of relieved. It seemed like more so just the part that somewhat handled just memory or at least where memories were, or at least where memories were stored, had somewhat was stored in the brain, had somewhat had gotten a bit of damage, and obviously now that she had nutrients, her own healing had actually managed to heal that, though somewhat. Kuma had actually went in and properly healed it, which had allowed her to somewhat, or at least have pretty much her life, or at least what her brain could remember, or at least had in it, had flashed all before her eyes, as she could remember all the times Hiruzen had come to visit her. And though she also remembered obviously how the orphanage was, and how she always felt like she was starving. Though even when she was a child, an Uzumaki baby, like an Uzumaki child, unless you had D-cup breasts, you wasn't going to be able to solo feed an Uzumaki. They just required too much milk to feed. And if you've got two, well, then you're out of luck. You'd need to find another female with D-cup breasts, or you'd need double D-cup to feed two Uzumaki children. So yeah, and well, the only way she even got enough food as a child was because, well, Kuruma being female, yes, the nine-tailed fox is female. For the first time in her entire life, of her own accord, started producing milk, and well, or at least even the cell itself somehow knew, instead of just dumping it in front of her, it somewhat dumped it in her, well, in Ruby's stomach. So at least when she was a baby, she was getting the, well, maybe not the correct milk, but at least what she needed, the stuff she really needed. So yeah, so yes, Kuruma did somewhat see herself as Ruby's mother. Heck, if Kushina wasn't, then Kuruma would be the probably next best choice, because why not? She's had 1,000 years of life experience, so no, why not? Oh yeah, and she'd continue to somewhat eat bowl after bowl, and 30-40 bowls later she'd finally finish. Husen himself had only 2 bowls, and well, yeah, actually, well, she was a lot better. Of course, well, she still looked thin, but obviously thanks to Kuruma could pull pretty much all the nutrients and dump it either into, of course, well, she dumped it into getting the muscles back and regenerating her muscles that she originally had, and that had required somewhat 20 bowls. And once all her muscles were back to what they were, just the 10 bowls it went into either giving her energy and dumping fat into her body. She still was thin, and you could still very much see the bones, but at least they were covered up by a layer of muscles now. And well, yeah, and she'd even Husen would pay, and she'd somewhat jump off the seat. Chuchu would know, well, Ruby was the joke of the 9,000 fox. Everyone knew by now she was, and Husen wasn't exactly happy with how the secret got out, because there was clearly a traitor among them in the meeting room. And well, yeah, and he'd somewhat guessed it was probably most likely Donzo, he'd thought, because, well, have the child be almost neglected and hated at, and then, someone show like a, bright, like, oh yeah, I will help you, and would then turn her into a drone, though he'd probably somewhat at least tried be showing coming up, but seeing how she looked, well, yeah, and he probably didn't even think Donzo would probably even expect this outcome of her pretty much only surviving because of the Ninetales, because of possibly his stupidity. And, well, yeah. Though they would have lost more than just the Ninetales. They would have lost the nine-tailed fox. Well, the Jinchuriki, the nine-tailed fox. And the reincarnation of Kaguya. So, yes. Anyway. Hizume would somewhat tell her, would somewhat pick her up. And would turn to Tucha and go, and would whisper in his ear, if she ever comes with no money, and I was like, feed her, but obviously, like, just take the money from me. Would, like you say, come to me on how much, she owes you, and I'll pay it. Chichi would just, go, I was going to do that anyway, He would just nod and chuckle and go, well, it's nice to see at least some people care about her. As he'd go, of course. Her mother may have abandoned her, but we won't. We'll never abandon her. Houston would go, as he'd go, yeah, my daughter Ayame. She's a bit older than her, but I'd feel like they will be very close to one another. Houston would just somewhat nod and would smile and well, yeah. And after that, they would say their goodbyes and would leave. When they were walking away, Houston, Karen, Ruby, towards Houston's clan compound, he'd go, hey Ruby, yeah Gigi, what is it? If you ever need food or anything, if you ever need food, you can go there, okay? She'd just say, you sure? Yes, I'm sure, Ruby. I'm very much sure they'll be more than willing, more than happy to feed you. If you're sure, Gigi, then I guess I will. Would just allow a happy sigh, or a sigh of relief, and would nod as he'd go, well then, yeah, the next day would they'd get back, and obviously she'd fall asleep, and the next day would roll around. He'd find her apartment, which would be the same apartment like in canon. Though the one thing different in canon was that he would get two Ambu to be a protector. And though these two Ambu weren't, here's a go to Dragon being the pretty much Ambu, the leader of the Ambu, so person that generally mainly did so like the paperwork and like handled say mission, like the mission say that the Hokage would send them, and or the Fire Daimyo, because Hiruzen didn't know what Fire Daimyo wanted with the Ambu, and Fire Daimyo didn't know what Hiruzen wanted with the Ambu. Only the what's it called? Only Dragon, the current pretty much the boss of the Ambu, would know. Whoops. So yeah. And so you'd go to and would go to Dragon and would obviously ask Dragon. Dragon would go, well, if you come back in an hour, I'll have 2 Anbu ready, well, here and ready to be to be protected, to be a guards for, well, until she becomes a genin of Konoha. He'd just nod and he'd leave, and Dragon would then call 2 Anbu to be, and we'd tell them, well, would somewhat, well, no, she'd call up, well, Dragon would call a couple of Anbu, and, well, yeah, an hour later, Dragon would choose 2, and, well, after choosing after choosing those 2, yeah, Hiruzen would just obviously tell them that only intervene if she's in dire need protection, or if she's pretty much if there are people going to do trying to pretty much, well, for the adults and for people that do know what I mean by play or have fun with her, you guys may know what I mean. So yeah, anyway, so yeah, and the Anbu just nod and would sensing away towards where they could feel her chakra, and Hiruzen would just go, Mao would just somewhat sensing towards, well, he'd send sensing back to the Hokage Tower, and, well, yeah, he would pretty much choose, well, he would then pick up the keys for apartment, and then sensing towards where he could somewhat sense her chakra. And once he'd arrive, he would then tell Riri to follow him, and that he was going to show her where her home is, where her apartment is, where she'll be living for the foreseeable future. Riri just nod and would walk alongside him for a while, and, well, yeah, 5-10 minutes later, they would arrive at the apartment. Hiruzen would give her the keys, and she would open the door, and she would somewhat be surprised in that, or she would run around as Hiruzen would somewhat smile and go, well, how is it? I hope it's to your liking. Riri should come back and go, yes, Gigi, yes, I love it. You just nod and go, and there's one more thing. There will be 2 Anbu. Should go, Anbu, what are they? As the her 2 somewhat guards would then appear besides Hiruzen, as Hiruzen will go, these 2 will be, 2 are Anbu, and these 2 Anbu members here will be your guards. They'll be always outside. They'll always somewhat follow you, but they'll be, when you're at home, they'll be outside. One will somewhat be at the back, so they could, so pretty much they would cover every entrance and exit and window, so that if someone were to try and break in, they would be able to stop the person before they do it. So just nod and would say, okay, GG. And he'd go, and I will come once a month to give you, to give you some money so you can get, well, so you can obviously get food. So you just nod, and Huzen would go, well, here's your first one, and here's some more. This money will be for, so that's more, well, that'd be for anything you want, but mainly, well, there is food there, so you use this however you like, and the extra is more so to get you some clothes. You just somewhat look at herself and would just go, right, and would go, well, there's no real place that would sell to me. Husen would go, oh, and would go, well, and would somewhat write down, he'd pull out a piece of paper and would write down two names that he knew would be would be more than happy to, well, sell to her. Why? Well, because her and mother and father, so Minato and Kushina used to go there. One was obviously a food store where they obviously sold food, and the other one was it was a ninja store, so it was a ninja and clothes store, mainly clothes store, but it did sell some basic ninja equipment. And he would, when it's around a week before she would enter the academy, he'd give her the name for that place, unless she'd find it herself, which that was a chance. And yeah, and I would give her the paper, and it'd go, the first one is where you can get food, Ruby. That's obviously a food store. They'll be more than happy to sell to you. And if you're still not certain, I can come with you right now. And whilst obviously the fridge and I is stocked with food, you can at least somewhat enter and show your face. So you'd somewhat just nod and would go, so the second one is where I'd get my clothes from. Husen would nod once again and would say, and obviously, just like before, I can come with you. That I'll somewhat wait outside for a couple of seconds, then enter. So just nod, and he would do that they'd go first to the food store, and the person didn't kick her out. Heck, 15 civilians that were in there, somewhat, obviously stared at her like she shouldn't be in there, like she shouldn't exist, like she should die, had been all kicked out. Husen had then somewhat walked in, and Husen didn't walk in, she'd somewhat walked out. The person somewhat side thinking that the person, all the people glaring at her, but didn't go, the person would ask, will you shop here again? We would look at the person and go, yeah, I just don't need anything at the moment. And Husen would come in and somewhat explain to the person. The person would just sigh in relief and just nod, because, as I said earlier, the person obviously knew me to Kushina, and it was somewhat very obvious that she was their baby girl. After all, if it wasn't for her somewhat figure, or her ruby red hair wasn't the Uzumaki blood red, but it was still obvious that she was an Uzumaki, and the only Uzumaki in the village was Kushina. So yeah, and if you wanted even more, then her her right eye was was pretty much the same colour like Kushina's, a nice like violet, beautiful violet colour, and her left eye was a blue, was pretty much the same as Minato's eye. So her right eye was the same as Kushina's colour. Her left eye was the same colour as Minato's. So yeah, she had two different coloured eyes. But did it bother her? No, not one bit. She could care less that she had two different coloured eyes. And when she had asked about that, Kushina just said that her left eye was the colour of her father's, and her right eye was the colour of her mother's. So she's had both. She had the colour of both of her parents. She just somewhat nodded and was somewhat happy that obviously when she looked at the mirror, obviously she could somewhat just imagine a possibly person with, you know, red hair. Well, the only thing Kushina told her about her parents was that her mum had red hair, well, or at least had a darker coloured red hair than what she has. So Ruby would just somewhat would imagine just like a taller, beautiful female with two pairs of violet eyes. And yeah. And that's why I'm going to end it here, guys. So if you have enjoyed it, type in the comments down below. If you want part 2 of this what if, type in the comments, and who knows, maybe I may start doing this every Wednesday. So you'd have a break between, you'd have a break of what if Shock returns Naruto into a female. You'd have a break of that and get this. So yeah. And anyway, guys, stay safe. Have a good day or night, depending on where it is for you and just what time you're watching this. And yeah, stay safe and good. Bye. Good.